Evening. Welcome to um, this pilot of the Glyn Spaces. Um, I am Paul Kelly. I'm the founder of Glyn Studio, and for the past 3 days, I've been having conversations with you guys and other speakers, launching my studio and putting it out there in the world. In the first day, I introduced you guys to my studio. The second day, we had a panel session with Ameji, Niyo Kyowo, and Mary Afolabi of Fort Canvas. And today we are continuing that conversation with Femi Gray and Cav to kind of like give you guys behind the scenes knowledge into looking to make that jump from being a freelancer to starting a studio. So we are going to hear from them how they made that transition. If they've made that transition, are they still thinking about it? What are the things that has changed for them from being a freelancer to um, being a studio owner or looking to make that jump? And this Glean Spaces is something I'm planning to do twice every month. So on the second Friday of each month and the fourth Friday of each month. And we want to have design conversations that will push the needle, right? So you'll be seeing guests from Nigeria and beyond to talk about the business of design, building a design team, working in house as a brand designer, your role as a brand designer, building design systems, um, and every other topic that can educate, people in our space, people in our industry, and it's not just going to be surface level conversation. So, right now, I mean, I'm not thinking about that right now because I'm thinking about this launch, but the plan is to have very serious conversations, bring on very serious people and people who could impact people who are already working or have done great work in very great places. And the next one will be happening on February 13th. I think that's the second Friday of February, and still trying to finalize with the speaker for that day, but we also have some people who have confirmed for different days in the year already. So, you guys should follow Glenn and stay in the loop with all these conversations. So we are going to get today started, and I'm going to introduce our speakers. So the first person I'm going to introduce is somebody who is not new to any one of you. She's been maybe the OG of community building from the start. I've been a member of our group for years now. She's probably one of the pioneers of brand design as a marketing funnel, and we all have all seen and loved the work she's been doing with Moonshots and how everybody has rallied behind the work that has been done, the work itself and the brand she's been doing it for. So, ladies and gentlemen, designers, please welcome Chukwu Adeze Victoria.
Please, they did not clap. So I'm going back to my house. Okay?
So she's going back, and I'm going to repeat the last line so
Oh,
that you people should
no,
clap.
no, 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 no. Okay. Hi, everybody. Good evening. How you doing? Happy. Well, I almost said happy Sunday. I forgot it was Saturday. Hi, happy Saturday, I guess. Great to be here. Thank you very much, Paul.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for honoring this invite because it was last minute. I spent so much time trying to figure out everything about Glenn, and I forgot that shit. Pardon my French. I needed to speak to my speak get the availability, but Carv was able to just jump on this. So thank. Mm, hope you guys can still hear me. I think I just had a network glitch. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So my second speaker that I'm bringing on board today, to me, it seems like a double agent who lives a double life. In the morning, is a model. In the evening, is a designer. But in both, is delighting our screens and giving us back-to-back bangers. Um, so yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome Femi Gray to this space.
Hi guys, I hope you can hear me. Good evening.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Thank you very much. I was going to say something when you introduced Cav. Cav was able to carve out some time, but that's by the way. Yeah, I'm really glad to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, great. We were supposed to have a third guest today who would have been Jobosin Chisa, but unfortunately, he had the last minute clash today, so he couldn't join. But I know he sends his best um wishes to us on this conversation. So we are going to get this conversation started, and I'm going to start with Femi Gray. So Femi, we yeah, I know you've started your studio called Femi Gray, and is there a major difference between you being the freelancer and now you being a studio? Is there a major difference, or does it still feel the same to you?
Um, hmm. So there is a very vast difference, right, between being a freelancer and um, seeing yourself as a studio or putting together um, a group of people to then work together or working outside of yourself, right?
Yeah,
As a freelancer, it's a one-man perspective, right? You are building within your atmosphere, within your range, within your capacity, right? But when it comes to operating as a studio, you are building outside of yourself, right? You are considering many different perspectives. You need to accommodate them. You need to be able to align notions, right, from different people. You need to be able to manage people.
yeah,
You need to have a you need to be more conscious about the business side of things, right? I think that's one of the major things I've discovered. Working or operating as a company, as a business, is very much different from operating as a person that has skills and is offering them to people, right? You need to consider a lot of things, a lot of factors to then operate so that you can be functional and work at your best, right? So there's a huge difference between being a freelancer and operating as a studio. Yeah, that's all from me.
yeah. Thank you very much for that, and I think it's also something I myself came to terms with, because it's a very major. It's been a very major shift for me too. If I'm going to ask you, when you decided to go on this journey, what was the first thing you did? Was it like registering the business, lawyering up, or like just reaching out to past clients that you were making the transition?
So as a person, right, as a creative, I'm quite obsessed with system structure, strategy, all of those things, right? And I had always had it in mind to build something that is outside of myself, right? So it was sort of like a slow transition, right? I wouldn't say I just decided suddenly and then started taking steps. I had it in mind, so I was moving towards it slowly, right? So in those period, I was trying to put together systems or structure that can accommodate other people, right? That can help me work with other people, right? So those were the things I was trying to put in place before I then decided, okay, we need to actually make this thing a proper business. Now, with that decision, then the step I took was to consult a legal partner, right? So the first thing we did was register the business, right? You need to register as a business. So we did that. We got incorporated both in Nigeria and also in the US. So Femigo is incorporated in Nigeria and in the US. So that was one of the first things business-wise, right, as a company. And beyond that was to continue putting the structures in place, building out systems, reaching out to human resource consultants on how to put together, you know, all of these platforms that are needed for people to be able to come and join you, to come and work with you. Because I believe everything should be a branded experience, right? Even from the way you hire people, the way you seek out people, the way you want them to join you, it should be a branded experience from the onset, right? So they are already building a perception of what it would be like to work with this company, right? So all of those things are things I considered. I wanted the experience to be tailored, right? Okay, you are joining, this is the onboarding process. All of those things were things that were thought about and, put together along the line to have people join and then up until the point that we are now. So yeah, um, one of the first things setting up and incorporating and continuously building the structure. Yeah, that's it.
Um, Femi, thank you very much for your responses. I heard everything. I just couldn't give my response back in real time. Um, yeah, well done. It's a big deal, registering everything in Nigeria and in the US. I think that is a very unique advantage. That was also something I did, registering both in Nigeria and the US to just give me that extra advantage if I was working with international clients and I don't need to go through the hassle that will come with that if there was ever a requirement. Cav, a question to you. I know a lot of designers dream or would want to go make that transition from a freelancer to a studio at some point in their career. Have you ever thought of making that transition, or have you made that transition now?
Before your weapons started sharpening themselves, I was trying to explain, answer the same questions that you had asked for me. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I was saying that there's a lot of things that I considered. There's that initial fear of I go fit do like
Mm-hmm.
why am I even bothering myself, right? Like there are 1,000 studios in this world, and one extra one would it make a difference? There's just that internal struggle within yourself that am I not doing well as a freelancer? Why do I need to do a studio? Who studio help? That sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
First struggle. Then there's now the psychological part of it, because if you are a freelancer, or let's say you're working as an employee, you have orders handed to you, you have ideas handed to you, not ideas for the design, but ideas of like basic direction or vision handed to you, right? They'll come and tell you, oh, this project, or this is our vision for it, and this is what we want to do. Then your creative director or your manager would hold a meeting, and he'll be at the helm of directing how we should go, the kind of research that we should do, the kind of copies we should write, all of those things. But as per studio owner, na, you have to be the one to cook that soup by yourself. Sure, you get. So
Yeah.
there's the psychological part of like, am I like understanding the art of communication, right? And when I say communication, I don't even mean to only the people will be working with you, also the people that you'll be working for, right?
Yeah.
Because now there's a bigger responsibility that is on you as a studio owner to make stuff work. There's a part of leadership as well that came in, and I'm saying all of these things because I literally have them in my goals per month to learn some of these things and relearn the ones that I have learned before, right?
Yeah.
Because you might be sitting in the corner of your room thinking like you are a fantastic leader, but you know lead shingbai and people hate you, but they don't tell you. Do you
Yeah,
get? And
definitely.
you might be out there finding yourself that you are a fantastic leader. You get? So understanding human beings, how psychology works, the art of persuasion, push and pull, that kind of thing. Like when it comes to people, knowing how to be friends and not so friends. That I don't know whether you guys understand what I mean. Like you
Yeah.
want to be friends with people that that you've employed, but you also don't want to do see finish. You don't want them to see you finish. So
Yeah.
there's that distance that will be there, but then there has to be that closeness as well, so that they'll believe that you are family and they can collect 40,000 naira per month. Sorry, that was a stupid joke, but that's what they told me at one point in my own career. So we are a family, collect this small money, shake it. So there's a collaboration aspect of it as well. So all of these are things that I considered before I even thought of, oh, should I transition? Then another big part of it that was very, very important to me was the financial aspect. As an Igbo girl, I know Con Lagos Con Count Bridge. It was very, very important to me, this money part, right? If you're a freelancer, you might consider, you might say, oh yeah, bring her like that. You want to remove my money? Oh yeah, 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 I'll give you small discount. I will, but as a studio owner, Omo, you have bills to pay that is more than just what your family is eating. Now you have to pay salaries, and then if you have a physical space, you need to pay for that space. You need to buy maybe laptops. You need to save up money as well for like future this is, so I will not carry matter to Twitter and say my guy is a foolish guy, not give us money 3 months. Sure, you get. So all of those things were considerations that I needed to make before I even thought about it at all. Like, oh, do I want to do this thing? Sure, you get. So it was Jesus minus Satan.
Yeah, I think your responses are extremely valid. I think one thing I didn't know be so would be so important was that the amount of money I needed to spend just setting it up, from registering to
Yeah.
paying the lawyer and things I needed to put in place. I was just like, do I have to do all these things? I could just say, I don't start this thing now. I mean, maybe they go, but you know, but if
You can just remain.
exactly, but if you want to be taken serious, if you want to position yourself the way you have to position, you have to spend that money. And it was a shock. I think the other thing that was a shock for me was the business side of it, because I found myself having to learn so many things that were business oriented, and found myself designing less on some days, and I was like, I'm starting this thing to design, to do more design work, great design work, but I find myself doing less design work and instead managing those work themselves. And I was like, how can I balance this thing that this thing doesn't take me away from design? It was a huge shock for me. So let's talk about names. How did you go about naming your your studio? I mean, for me, I just picked my dad's name. Like, it's sweet, it tastes like honey, it's meaningful, it has an emotional aspect to it. But how did you guys go about names? Did you overthink it, or you just felt like, yeah, this it came naturally to you? Cav, you can go first.
Okay, because see, as you are respectful children, we not jump and talk. Mhm. So mine was I wouldn't say it came naturally to me, but it was a wake up call from a very long time ago, from a couple of years ago. I think about 5 to 6 years ago. Um and it was a hangout, like a designers hangout that Yox planned here in Lagos. I was working at TISV Digital at the time, a digital marketing agency, and that was like my first corporate job, by the way. So I was very, I still am, but I was very enthusiastic about design. So my boss at the time was like, let him pay for this hangout now. Let three of us go. So three of us went, me, him, and the art director. So we went for this hangout. They had like branded stuff that was personally branded, like your own name is on it and everything. And I think that was like that was like the beginning of me recognizing the power of my own name, right? So I went into that hangout, and there was a lot of conversations about the future of design, what design looks like. That time AI have not even been born. AI, they never even, like, it's not a fetus yet. They never even think I'm, in my opinion, right? Or maybe they've not just made it public. But at the time, we're still talking about, the business of design, the world of design, what kind of tools are more effective, yada yada. right? And then one particular guy, well, today I can't even remember who that guy was, but what he said was so profound that it literally changed the trajectory of my life, right? And he said, why is it that we as Africans or as Nigerians, we tend to use foreign names when we name ourselves or name our business or name whatever it is that we're naming, right? You see something waters, skinny computers, skinny con, just different, or an English word or something. That what's wrong with your native name? So I went back at the time I was bearing Lady Boss, right? And Lady Boss Incorporated was the name I was bearing as a business in quotes, as a freelance business in quotes. And I went back home and I thought about it that wait, so this Lady Boss, now when they break my heart, now I gather the name more. So I used to pump my chest that nobody can do you anyhow, you're a lady boss, and I turned that into a business name. So I now looked at it that okay, this name that is born out of from the place of why are people laughing? What's funny? That is born from a place of pain, right? Why not shift it into my actual name? So my name is Chuku Adeze, and my birth certificate got lost. So my mom had a new one made, and in the new one that was made, she said she saw the name Victoria for me in her dream. I said, "Talk anything you see in your dream, shall bring and come. I shall not going to be bad thing." So they added the Victoria name to my certificate. So now it became Chuku Adeze Victoria. And not only is the name like right for me from an African perspective, it's also right for me from a symbolic perspective because Chuku means God. That's the C in CAV. Chuku means God, and God comes first, right? Adeze means daughter of a king, which is like princess, just royalty basically. And that's how I carry myself. And lastly, Victoria is basically means being victorious. That's what it means. Sure you get. And that is how I have faced every single challenge that has come my way. So CAV, then I added digital at the back, and that's how my name came about. Long story short, God gave me name and I chased it. That's all.
Great, great, great. With this name that's about royalty and victory, I pity your clients and their pockets. You know.
I used to tell
But
them,
I
I used
think
to tell them in my discovery meeting that okay, when we are done talking about the primary, the like preliminary stuff, I'm like, okay, yeah, now it's time for us to talk about your kidney. And they're like, what do you mean we talk about my kidney? I'm like, you're going to give me your kidney now. That's payment I need. So it's just a way of like easing the tension and easing them into the conversion of money. But yeah,
yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks for that. Femi, how about you?
For me, I think it's a bit interesting. Although, um, so I'm going to echo of what Ada had said about owning our own stuff, right? So from time, I'm the kind of person that likes to, I mean, we copy a lot of things from the West, right? And I'm one of those people that are not shy about where we are from, right? So having your name as the thing that represents you, right, is something that I'm very proud of. Is one of the reasons why when I see all these, a lot of the design God, and all of those things, I just wonder, man, like, what are you doing? Just use your name, right? But that's by the way. So I've always had my name as a part of what people call me by. Initially, it was Femi Digital, just basically a very basic idea. I do digital stuff, and my name is Femi, right? But then um, something very interesting. Where I'm from, I'm Yoruba, and when a young person has gray hair, they are said to be thoughtful, have wisdom, insightful, all of those. So it basically means you are old in a young body, right? So I think that is the symbolism, right? So I have gray hair. When my hair gets full, I have gray hair. And at the time, I spent most of my time around elderly people, right? And when I spoke, they would be like, wow, you're so deep. Wow. I mean, having conversations with elderly people and they can resonate so much, right? So I grew into the fact that, That was symbolic to the kind of person I am and the kind of work or impact I want to make, right? The thoughtfulness that goes into the way I work, right? And the way I do things. I like to take my time, think about it, look at things, not just rush, that kind of approach to things, right? So I basically just picked that gray because of what it represents in respect to that, right? And then added my name that people are already familiar with to it, right? And initially, I had reservations. I wasn't sure, but when I saw that people loved it, and it was something that they related with quite a lot, I just said, okay, you know what? That's the name. That's what we're working with, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Nice. Such words of wisdom from the elder, you know. Um, so guys, if you are trying to pick a name for yourself, I think it's super important that you pick a name that has a story to it so that when you are asked, you don't feel like just because. I mean, just because can also be a good reason, but it becomes more conversational when you can tell the audience something super important about the name you've chosen. And I think every designer goes through that phase where you call yourself the design god. I think I used to call myself Design Merlin, and then the normal designer because I love so many things about design. But you grow out of that phase, because you see other people doing it, you want to do it to feel among or to feel like, oh, this is what everybody's doing to stand out. But own your identity. Is the one most secure thing you have. So own it. Your story is yours, and if you are going to give that to the world, feel free to give that to the world. You know. So guys, we move on to the next question. So yeah, Femi, is there any project you would have taken as a freelancer that you turned down now as a studio, and why?
Yes, definitely, right. There are definitely projects I would have taken as a freelancer and turned down now. And that is essentially because I have more things to consider that are outside of myself, right? As a freelancer, it's just me. Okay, I want to pay this bill, I want to do this one, make I chop. Okay, make I just use this one, quickly do something. You get those are mostly the kinds of consideration you have as a freelancer, right? And then the extra is just, icing on the cake is good, but is still within what you need as a person, as a single person. But right now, I have a lot more things to consider. I have other people to consider. I have a team to consider, right? And if the project doesn't align with our values as a team, because I'm always bringing my team up to speed, right? We need to make unanimous decisions, right? As a leader, you can't be the only one deciding to do things. So you need to consider the people that are working with you, right? So that would determine whether I take on a project or not, right? If it was just me, I don't have too much to think about. It's just my personal bills and whatever extra I need to do or factor in. But right now, it's more than me, right? So there are definitely projects I would have taken as a freelancer, but I would say no to now, right? And beyond even the financial aspect, right, there are also things that I would have said no to as a freelancer and say yes to now based on exposure to more insight, right, around things or how things work in the business world, right? For example, I may take on a project now to build a relationship, right? But as a freelancer, wetin concern me which relationship I wan follow you build. I just want to get my work, get paid and go, right? But as a company, you need allies. You need people that you can reach out to at some point and say, okay, so and so, right? You need relationships, you need partners, right? So those are also things that you begin to consider when it's beyond you, right? It's beyond yourself now. You have people that you need to consider. You have things, long-term goals and visions that you need to consider, right? That so those things would most likely be the reason you say yes to a project that ideally as a freelancer you would say no to, because you can't see there's not so much foresight into what you would be needing later on, right? But when you start to consider things as a business owner, as a company, you see things differently and begin to make the decisions differently, right? So yes, definitely.
Okay, great. I have a different question for you. Um, so when you made the transition from a freelancer to studio, are there conversations you have now with clients that you didn't have when you were a freelancer?
Hmm. Conversations that I have now with the clients, not necessarily. Um, my okay, yeah, yeah. Actually, to be honest, my structure is quite different from a lot of other people, and I want to just ease us into it by saying, before I decided to register CAV Digital as a studio and then start operations with that name, I had to look at like the demand and supply of the market, right? Like in 5 years, in 10 years, will the agency model will this still be alive? Considering the fact that there is the barrier for entry when it comes to design generally is very low. Anybody and their sister is the designer. Everybody and the mosquito in their house is a designer, right? So the barrier for entry is really low. Companies are looking for ways to cut costs, so they are always going for um freelancers that are able to get the job done, but multi-talented freelancers. That's where I'm saying this as an insider. That is where most companies like divert towards. They would rather create an in-house design team than give the job to an agency because of a lot of reasons. She gets all of understanding that that is how the market is operating right now and will most likely get worse as time goes on has changed the way I speak to clients. I when people refer me to jobs, they refer me as Chukwadeze. That I know this brand designer, she's so good. They don't refer me as CAV digital, whatever, whatever. So it is when I get into that discovery call that I now need to sell myself as an agency. And one of the ways that I do that that changes the conversation is, oh, I will get my web designer to do it. I will get my iconography guy to do it. I have a illustration person that I work with. So they know that it's not just one person that they are paying, is now multiple people. I've had somebody's work go from 200K to 900K because I said I have two people that I'll be working with on this project. So the key to entry for most of them is, oh, Ades is a good designer. Let us work with her, right? And then when I get there, I have to sell. So that's my own model that changes the way I have conversations with them. Other people have like maybe employees, they have like office space, they have to buy laptops and everything. Me, I'm purely arbitraging at this point, right? I am working based solely based on collaborative and project based projects. Project based, what's that English? There's one English I'm trying to recall. uh
Engagements.
ah, engage Paul. Wow, okay. So project based engagement. So if I have a job, I'm like, hey, I have this guy, we can do it together. And somebody reached out to me recently for a website, and I was like, oh, absolutely, I have the website guy, me and him can work on it together, and yada yada. So that is how conversations have basically changed with the clients that I work with.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it's super important that the way you present yourself is different. You can't just you've made that transition from a freelancer to a studio. You can't, even if you're going to work on. I think I was talking to a client the other day, and I was like, "Oh, my assistant is going to send you a mail." I was the assistant. I don't get assistant, but I couldn't just make it seem like, "Oh, this is," as a freelancer, I was just say, "Yeah, I'm going to send you a mail." But I needed to show that there was a structure in place, and things were not just going to happen on the whim. Again, it may take a day for me to send that contract, because if everything goes fast, then you are not positioned, you are not maintaining the positioning you're trying to maintain. And for me too, right now, I'm building my projects based on collaborations. My goal is that when Glyn becomes profitable, I'm able to hire in-house talents and stuff like that, because I want to be able to employ people. But I can't do that right now, because I'm not going to put the headache of paying salaries month on month on my head. For me, Glen has to be profitable before I can achieve that. But when I'm talking to clients, be like, yeah, we can do this in team. It's always a we. I don't say yeah, I can do this now. No, we can do this. And if I'm going into meeting with clients, and if I know I'm bringing this motion designer on board, that motion designer is attending that meeting with me. It's not going to be me attending the meeting, taking feedback to the motion designer. You are going to get firsthand yourself what the client needs and what we need to do, to be able to achieve what we need to achieve. So it's super important that your language and the way you speak about yourself, starts to evolve. Yeah, Femi.
Thank you. So I was just going to add to what Adam mentioned, right? Personally, I think this model would most likely be the future of how we work, right? And I would like to implore some of the designers here to start looking to working that way, right? Start collaborating a lot more. We need collaboration, right? We don't need silos. We need collaboration. That is going to be the future of work, right? Start having a network of people that you work with really, really well, so that when projects come and they mention, oh, we need this, you have someone you can snap your fingers and say, okay, I have this person, right? I know this person. We can get on it together, right? You need to start building that network now, because that is the model that is going to be the template very, very soon, right? So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you very much. So when you're making this transition, I think it's super normal for you to have that fear that, like Cav mentioned earlier, that does the world even need another design studio? Should I even be doing this? Has there been any point in this journey where you felt like, why am I even taking on this stress? Should I just go back to what I was doing before? Or you never had that fear overcome you? Femi, you can go first.
Like 1 million times, I mean 1 billion times. The journey is not for the weak.
At
You
all.
have times where you just lie down, stare at the ceiling, and think about your life and just wonder, why did I do this to myself? Right? All of those things, they come. They are definitely going to come, right? In different forms, in ways you did not expect. You just be like, my God, why did I do this? Why did I make this decision? But I feel like in the end, it pays off, right? In the end, it pays off. And all of those things are the things that add to the journey, to the experience, right? You would always have to refine, constantly refine your processes, your communication, your leadership skills, everything is in a constant state of refinement, right? So eventually it pays off, but there will definitely be those moments where you just pause and think about your life and wonder why you made the decision to start. But I would tell you to still go on, continue, keep pushing, and you get to the results, and even from the result, you still continue to work. Right? We have agencies like Koto, Ramotion, Pentagram, and all of those guys that has been there for years on years on years, and they are still going. 10 years from now, those guys will still be there, right? So it's a continuous journey, You just have to keep going. But there will definitely be those moments. What has really helped me is the gift of people, right? And that is something I really, really appreciate and I'm grateful for, right? Being able to have people that you can speak to and then just talk to about the struggles of, doing something that you envisioned or building something that you have in mind,
Yeah.
right? And speaking to people that's been in the line, people in front that you're looking up to, talking to them, having these conversations, right? That helps you see what is possible, right? It exposes you to the fact that, all of these things are normal. All of this stress, the struggle, all of them, they are normal, right? This is what you can do. You just, you are able to navigate it more when you have people around that's been there, right? They're able to help. I think that was one of the major things that helps me. And also, I'm a Christian, right? So I have a strong faith in Christianity. So I believe in God, I believe in Jesus Christ. And that is very, very paramount to my journey. It has been of great help, right? You feel some type of way, you say a prayer, and you get back to work, right? That is how it goes. There's no stopping. There's no stopping. So yeah, let me stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Pav, has there been any point you felt like let me go back, or you've been using your lady boss energy to power through?
Where the energy dey? Omo, every day. E be like paracetamol, 2 tablets 3 times a day, right? So for me, it's one of the things that help me with the way I fare. Some of the things that I do is data. I like to work with data. I'm not a I'm faith for me is nice, right? It's a nice to have. But personally, I like to work with data to say, okay, what does the data say about me having an agency in this year of our Lord 2026? First of all, right? What does the data say? What does the data say? What is the projection for having an agency 10 years from now? Um, and what is the culture of people? What is the psychological state of people of the market, and how has it changed over time, and how will it change over time? Shey you get? Because a lot of the things that we do, maybe the devices that we use, our attention span, our buying culture, all of those things affect branding. All of those things affect how clients make certain decisions, right? Now, person wey don chop belle full go carry money say, "Oh yeah, take this money and go and brand my product." Shey get? So, and what are clients in the corporate world basically saying about the agency model? How is AI affecting the way we create what we create, and how does that translate into how agencies present themselves or sell what they sell, or either get or retain clients or lose clients? Just looking at all of that data, helps me to make conscious decisions. um and looking at data does not stop. It's a continuous process. You keep looking at the data, you keep shifting and morphing, and dropping a couple of things, picking up a couple of things as time goes on, so that you don't become a dinosaur and become extinct, thinking that you are making sense while you are not actually making sense. So I fear that, and I hear what Femi said the other time, but I still fear that um agency model, I mean, not like the way it is now or the way it was a couple of years ago, will evolve past it being one person that established company and hire like a ton of people and put them in there, and then client comes and give you a job, and you spend the next 1 month doing that job because you want to follow due process and everything, while he could have reached out to a freelancer, and the freelancer will gather like five of his friends, and they will get it done within a week using AI tools, maybe vibe coding, whatever it is that they're using. Sure, you get. So apart from data, having my nose on the ground on how all of these things work basically, has helped to kind of shift that fear to the side and forced me to get to work on how I can be modern and how I can stay modern. Shey you get. So that is one of the reasons why I mentioned that I don't necessarily go outside inside the street and and say, Kere, oh, I'm a studio now. Oh." I they wait, I they smell the road, I they check, I they see whether last month they road. Just shey you get, I'm checking and you get why. Do you get? And
Mhm.
the reason, you see, it's a long thing to explain because it's a lot of it is psychological and a lot of it is relationship based. But yeah, I fear, but data helps. And having my nose on the ground, on maybe the trends, technology, what is happening in the world, and so on and so forth. All of those things kind of help to push the fear aside.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, and it's true. Um, the fear is going to be natural. You are doing something you've probably not done before. You are charting new waters. You don't know what to expect. There are so many things you have to learn along the way. I was not business oriented when I started this journey, and one thing I will tell you, it's a very business oriented industry. Like your shift from being a freelancer to being a studio is proper business. Like let's even leave the systems in place, just like Cav was saying just now, you are now working with other people, other businesses, because there are certain businesses who will not work with freelancers, who only want to work with studios and agencies, and there are some who want to work with freelancers if they bother about speed. But the relationship you have with these people, how you cultivate those relationships, how you build them, you are now like in the service industry. You are servicing them in a way, and your the way you think about this is just totally different. It can scare you because you may be, as a studio, you may go from charging maybe $1,000 to now charging $10,000, and that may also put fear in you, right? But that fear is what should keep you alive, basically, because when you douse that fear, you may not survive. And again, it's fine to go back to, like, this is not for me. If you figure out that is not for you, I mean, it's totally fine. We don't have to lie to ourselves like, oh, I must do this against all odds. But you know it's something that, as a business too, you have to constantly iterate and evolve. Like Femi was saying earlier, you may have this notion, this idea, this is how I'm going to do it, and 6 months down the line, you see the kind of people you've had conversations with, or the kind of clients you've gotten, or the mistakes you've made, or the things you've done that were successful, that you didn't plan them to be successful in the first place, or you didn't know about them, and you have to involve those things in your process. You have bad experiences, and those bad experiences will force you to change your process. You have good experiences, and those good experiences will lead you to change something about your process. And it's a constant iteration. You won't get it right at first, right? Even them Kotos and pentagram still have certain mistakes they make. It's just normal. You will make mistakes, but do not let that deter you, and just keep on pushing in this journey, right? And put your nose to the ground. Like Carl said, you need to know what the industry is saying. You need to know if they need you and how they need you, right? What is the thing about your service you can evolve to better accommodate the kind of clients you want to work with? The kind of clients you want to work with, what are the things they look out for and the people they work with? You need to know that, because if you go portray yourself to them that way and you don't fit that bill, you are going to hear no's or no answer, and that may make you start questioning yourself, that am I good enough? Should I even be in this line? Oh, my work is great, but nobody is focusing on me and stuff. It's just because the people you are trying to talk to, you are not trying to talk to them the right way. And that is something I learned the hard way in this journey completely. Um, so yeah, Femi, since you made this shift, I know yours was a slow shift, but have you lost any clients because they weren't able to understand why you were making the shift, or maybe because prices went up, and maybe it's a client you've had a past relationship with? Have you lost a client due to making the transition?
I would essentially say lost, right? But I would say there's definitely been some people that we had misalignments with based on the fact that the conversations are now different. right?
Yeah.
When you speak as a studio or as a collective is different from when you speak as an individual. And these things can be perceived too, right? So they know or they can tell when they can actually tell when you've gotten to that phase. They would know that okay, this person has gone beyond the phase where I can afford to work with them, right? And there are mutual conversations and mutual understanding around that fact, and then we get to disperse, right? So I would not essentially say lost clients. I would just say that there's been some misalignment, and we grow out of stages, we grow out of people, we grow out of a lot of things, right? So I would just say that um, as Femi Gray, we've grown out of a lot of stages, and that has sort of shifted the kind of conversations we have and the people we speak to and the people that reach out, right? We are building a perspective, there's a position we are trying to attain. And, at that position, the way you talk to people that you talk to is way different from when it was just me, right? There are things I would say or the way I would communicate when was just me is quite different. And then they can tell that, oh, it's a different ball game now, right? And things proceed the way they eventually proceed. But yeah, that's been it. I wouldn't say lost clients really. I'll
Okay.
just say an upgrade basically.
Yeah, Cav, um, now that you've made that shift and you've made the transition, you've had to be like the manager, the strategist. You are taking on multiple roles. Which of these roles feels so unnatural to you that, but it's super important to the success of, your studio?
Is the leadership one. Leadership na bastard. I'm so sorry for the German that I just now for leadership na bastard. Because you have to pretend like you don't
I
want to
feel
kill people,
you.
right? You have to
Yeah.
pretend like you actually don't want to strangle this person. You're working with someone and you're giving certain directive, and you're it's a balancing act because you want to make the person feel heard, but you also know that what they're saying is rubbish. Like low key, you know that what they're saying doesn't make sense. So now you have to like calm the demon in your heart and kind of speak to them from a place of understanding the nonsense they've said, but kind of like redirect them to a different path.
Yeah.
And it can be very, very difficult, especially for someone that expects that you should know. And coming to terms with the fact that not everybody knows can be hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a person that hits the ground running, like you need stuff done now, it's very difficult for you to navigate being the teacher in that moment, being the visionary in that moment, being the person that will still pay this person in that same moment. So I'm not only am I paying you, but I'm still teaching you the job I'm supposed to be paying you for. So it can be mind boggling. Shege. But one thing that I have found is when I farabale, when I calm down and I walk these people through what my expectations are, give them examples, if possible, look for tutorial videos that can show them the level of excellence that I expect, right? It helps them grow, and they are that speed I'm looking for comes later. Sure you
Yeah.
get, but that leadership part, or should I call it the collaboration part, right? It can be very, 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 very difficult, especially if you have high taste, which I do. Sorry, I have high taste even for myself. I disappoint myself daily because I'm like, is this the best you can do? Or when you go and upgrade this thing. So I have high taste for myself. I have high taste. I have high expectations for everybody. I have high expectation for myself. I have high expectations on behalf of the client. Even if you don't have high expectations, I have high expectations for the two of us. We can share it. Share it. Guys. So because
Right.
I want a project that I can be proud of, that I can boast, that can with all my chest, carry and come outside. So it has been difficult coming to terms with. Another thing that's been difficult coming to terms with is my idea of excellence is not everybody's idea of excellence. She get like what I want to
Yeah.
see is not what every other person wants to see. So a client can come and say, "Oh, I want it in this style," and you're like, "This style does not make sense." Right? And you are trying to cajole them, persuade them, yada yada, but you are forgetting that you have the vision for the design, yes, but you don't have the vision for the business. You don't have the vision for the product or the service that you're designing for. So Yoruba people say "Gbegbara le," meaning put your power down. So it has been difficult learning how to put my power down and actually actively listen and do it in the style that they want, even if it comes out breaking a lot of rules of design, right? But they are satisfied and they can give me money and come back and give me more money. So so it has been a learning curve and I'm still learning every single day.
Yeah, so true because on the leadership part, you just have to be patient, you know. It's difficult finding talents you would love to work with, and it's difficult finding talents that understand you or you understand them, and it takes a bit of time for that relationship to develop. Probably the first time you are going to not have the patience for it, but you have to have the patience as a leader. It also makes you understand why, from the outside, you may think like, why don't these other agencies give interns or beginners or intermediate designers a chance? But the truth is that when you are working as a studio, you have a reputation to keep, you have a client to satisfy, so the stakes are very high. They are higher, and you want to build a relationship with this client so that it could bring more work or it could bring more referrals and retainership and all those things. So you don't have the time. A missed deadline could have catastrophic repercussions on your business, on your relationship with that client. So you are trying to look for the best people. And like to work have said, you don't want to train anybody on the job. You just want somebody like, your portfolio is great. I expect you to deliver the same greatness, and you won't have that patience, but you have to learn to lower your expectations at first with people, and then you can gradually build it back up. As the more they get to understand you, the more they get to see your tastes, learn your tastes, adapt to your taste and the way you work. Because again, the way you want to work on the project is different from the way this person has always worked. You may want daily check-ins, and that person is someone that, oh, when is this thing due? Oh, on Friday. They go on Monday and they come back on Friday and they show you, oh, this is what I've done. But you want more like on Friday is the final piece. I'm not trying to make a correction on Friday, right? But then on Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you are eating up this person like, hey, what's up? Can I get an update? And the person is just ghosting, right? And you just have to know how to navigate the different personalities. I think yesterday, Mary and Nee were talking about how super important it is that the people they work with are the people with the right energy, with the right personality. Super important. So when you are looking to build your studio, it's not just about the skill. You have to look at, can I work with this person? Is this someone I can work with long term? Is this someone that is just going to be a one-off? Or they are good, but nah, that attitude, the way they work, their lack of communication is just not something I can cope with. Because as a leader, you don't always have to be the bigger person too. You have a decision to make, a decision for your client, for yourself, and it's super important that you know you make the best decision always, and that may not favor the person you are bringing on board, but you have to protect your business and you have to protect your client's business. Super important. um, yeah. So for the two of you, anyone can answer this. So we studios want to always get paid for value. We don't want to be task executors and stuff. So how do you communicate the value of being a studio to a potential client who is on the fence? Compared to maybe the client is trying to say, why can't I just go with a freelancer? Why are you three times more expensive than a freelancer? How do you communicate your value to them now compared to when you were the freelancer?
Can I go?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so for me, I think it has been around the process, right? The way you work. And even before transitioning into a studio, I think that is one of the things that has always helped me to stand out. I am very, 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 very particular about process, about structure, about the way things work, right? And you would be shocked to know that people like someone that knows their onion,
Yeah.
right? So the way you communicate, the way you work, essentially, give them an idea of, your capacity and the amount of trust they're able to give you, right? When they see, oh, this thing is very structured, is aligned, right? You give them a deadline and you meet your deadline. You give them a time for something and you meet it. You communicate like your life depends on it, because it does, right? The whole of the project, the whole of your work depends on how active you are, your communication skills, the way you manage projects. Those are the signs of how much value you can offer, and what they will consider you as. They would either consider you as someone they are given task to execute, or someone that is a partner, someone that is into the business with them, right? So depending on the way you communicate, the way you align your processes, the way you work with them, right? That is mostly what determines what they perceive and the amount of value they can assign to you as either a business or freelancer, right? So you need to refine your processes, and it is a continuous effort. It is a continuous effort. The way this person thinks is not the way the next person thinks. This person might love speed, and you're able to match it with your processes, speed. You work back to back, you are giving deadlines, you are done. You are doing this, you are done, right? And some people like to take their time. You get, they can tell you they will do something by Friday, and you have to remind them before they then get to it, right? So you need to be able to adapt to all of these things, and that essentially, influences the kind of value that is attached to your work, right? So I think that's it for me.
Okay, great, great, great. Before we go to other questions, is there anybody in the audience who has a question for me or the guest speakers? So we can take at least one now. Hmm. Anyone with a question? Or your questions have been answered already before you even finish formulating them in your mind? Okay, I can't see any question. So Cav, is there anything you loved doing when you were a freelancer that now you've had to let go? Ovie, we'll come back to you once Cav answers this question. Sorry.
Is there anything that I love to doing as a freelancer
Yeah, that you've had to let
that
go since you made this transition.
I'm on a designer? Hey, just like you mentioned at the beginning, there is a lot more admin managerial thing going on than design for me. And that's because when I have conversations with clients, they tell me, oh, I need this done and I need that done. And I'm like, oh, no problem, go to sleep. When you wake up, it's already done. Now I have to manage the people that are going to be doing it. And sometimes I'm blessed with people having people that I don't have to micromanage, right? So with them I don't have to design. They do the work and then they get paid and all of that. So I think design it's interesting, but design in that respect is one thing that I kind of do less of. I think I won't say drop completely, but do less of. I also do less of the legal part. A lot of the things that I do, I outsource. Right, me, I don't like stress. Anything I can outsource, I will outsource it. So the legal part of it, like the contract and all of that, were things that I used to handle by myself before, right? But I had to get a lawyer that will be in charge of all of those things, and she handles all those reading the contract, making sure I'm protected, coming up with SLAs, and she has saved me from a lot of problems. She gets, because there's one time that
Yeah.
somebody wanted to work with me, and then they sent me a contract and I sent it to her to review, and she was like, "This is actually very problematic, right? Because if you sign this contract, you're literally signing your life away,
Oh
and
wow.
there's no way to break out of it." So she had to like tell me what parts of it were. And English can be so interesting because the way they wove the English, you'll be like, you can't
To be
sign.
very honest,
Hey, they will weave the see in Shingbaka, they will scatter your head with the English, and you will sign it thinking that you're signing a good deal, but in the background, it's actually destroying you. She gets, so I was about to sign off, and there was no limit to the time that I'm supposed to be working with this person and collecting, like, I think it was how many percent that time, right? And it's interesting. So the legal part of it has been outsourced to someone else. A lot of some of the things that I do, I try to automate as well. So yeah, I automate some of it, I outsource some of it, and that's how my life has been so far so good.
Great, great. So, guys, have a legal person as your friend, or on a retainer or project based, whichever one works for you, so that you can always protect yourself because legal issues can be ugly. It's not can be ugly, they are ugly, they are messy, and trust me, in everything you want to worry about in this life, it's not one of them. So Femi and Cav, I noticed that when I was designing your posters and I asked for your title, Femi, you wrote brand experience designer, Carv, you wrote brand strategist. So since making this transition, how do you introduce yourself now? Do you go, because me, I'm going to go, I am Paul Kelly, I'm the founder of Glyn Studio, bam. But it seems like you guys are not introducing yourselves that way. So why do you introduce yourself the way you introduce yourself now? Cav, you can go first.
As a good child, we don't used to jump. You don't get it yet. We don't used to jump and just answer anyhow. You have to direct. So okay, a couple of things that I do, a couple of reasons why I introduce myself the way I do is, first of all, I have a day job, a 9 to 5, right?
Okay.
That pays me in security. In case we don't see work, we go fit still chop. So I keep my day job, and also kind of use it to fund other projects that I'm doing. So that's one of the reasons why I introduce myself the way I do, because I don't, although there's no legal obligation
Yeah.
to change it, I also don't. I'm also considering the people I work for. I don't want to make them uncomfortable. So someone says, "Oh, you're working for these people 9 to 5. Ah, is this not the CEO? Is this not the founder? Which founder they find for here?" Straight again. So I don't want to make them uncomfortable. That's one. Secondly, I will always be a brand designer at heart. So for the time being, while I still have day jobs and while I still um am building my personal brand, I will still remain Chukwu Adeze Victoria, also known as CAV, who is a brand designer and strategist. I think the last reason for me is I am very much still straddling the fence between freelancer and studio. See, you see that fence? If I will come down, they will call police. I'm still very much straddling that fence, sitting on that fence of freelancer and design studio. Right now, based on data, projecting or presenting myself as a singular entity has been very, very productive, because people don't refer me to other clients as that is a studio, it's a studio founder or whatever. They refer me as the singular designer that does this amazing stuff, yada yada, right? And when I get there, I sell myself as a studio, because now that we are here, at least when we are now that we are in a place of contact, I can sell anything to you. But if those people don't refer me, I don't get to speak to you. The relationship does not start at any point. So you get, so they introduce me as Adeze is a designer, and I get there and I sell myself from a perspective of the studio. So those are the three major reasons why my name still remains the way it does for now. There are some instances where I not even may where I present myself differently, right? And that's when I get to the spaces and the places where people expect someone of a certain caliber to be there. So I don't go there and say brand designer, yada yada. I say, you know, founder, CAV, digital, right? Because they don't, if they want to connect with you, I've gone to a networking event, and I introduced myself to a lady, and I'm like, hey, my name is Adi. She's like, oh, where do you work? Or what do you do? She didn't say where do you work. She said, well, what do you do? Because they don't ask you where you work. They don't expect you to be an employee. So they're like, oh, she was like, what do you do? And I'm like, I work as a designer for, and she looked at me up and down. She's like, hmm. And then she turned around. Hey, God, God. See, my heart is still paining me today because I was like, what? So they expect a certain level of class, a certain level of caliber from you, like timber caliber from you, a certain way of presenting yourself. So when you get there and say, I'm a founder of so thing, they are more likely to have conversations with you than for you to say, oh, I work for or I work in this company. She gets so everything has its time and place.
Yeah. Oh, great. Thank you. Femi, what about you?
For me, I don't have a lot of reasons, to be honest. However, I am, like she mentioned lastly, I am very, very conscious of context and, the environment,
Mm,
right? There are different ways that I introduce myself. Even though personally, I don't like, the CEO, founder, those, it just feels too serious to me. Although there are contexts where you actually need to be presented as that,
yeah.
right? And that environment requires you to be presented as that. But personally, I don't like it. But depending on the context, that would determine the way I introduce myself. But personally, I just prefer to say I'm a brand experience designer and creative director of Femi Gray, right? That's the most basic version, right? Brand experience designer and creative director at Femi Gray. Now that can work in whatever context. I mean, generally. However, when I'm in an environment that requires me to take on the perception of, CEO, founder, it just depends on where you find yourself, really,
Yeah.
right? And what you feel comfortable with, right? But then there are places that require you to stand, stand right. You need to present yourself well, like what we do, right? Is branding, it's perception, right? So
Yes.
the way you present yourself is the way you are going to be addressed or received, just like the example she gave, right? In a place where they expect founders, business moguls, owners, and all of those things. If you go there and say, I work at, I mean, just the exact reaction at that got, that's most likely what you will get for the most part, right? We may not like it, but there's nothing you can do about it. People judge you by the way you present yourself, right? So it's very essential that you are very conscious of context and you also have something you are comfortable with. Just balance the two.
Yeah, it's an optics word, and the reasons you guys have given is very valid. I think I was watching a TED Talk video on YouTube from Rebecca Okamoto on how to introduce yourself. You guys can check it out on YouTube. And then she was like, if you're going to introduce yourself, you need to introduce yourself in a way that makes the recipient say, "Tell me more." That they are curious as to what you do from the very first sentence of your introduction. I am Paul Kelly. I do da 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 da, or I'm da 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 da. You need to get their engagement to want to be like, okay, so tell me more about what you do. And it's super important that you have, even from our own TED talk, you need to have different variations of how you introduce yourself. And so it's super important that you guys are already thinking of the flexibility and the context of where certain introductions work better than other introductions. So, guys, this is something you should be super aware of. Ovie, do you still have a question? Raise, give me an emoji if you still have a question, or we can go on. Okay. All right. So yeah, guys. To anyone, so
I
we have.
think OVA just reacted. I can see him reacting.
Okay, Ovie. Let me bring you on board as a speaker so you can ask your question.
Evening, everyone. So, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ovi. Thank you, Paul Kelly, for the sessions from the day before yesterday. They've been really, really insightful. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you to our speakers today, Carver and Femigre. Thank you so much for the time spent. So, basically, my question is about the registration aspects of this whole studio agency stuff that we've been talking about. So, I wanted to ask that. Would it be possible that perhaps you or Femi could probably walk us through what this registration entails? Because during the course of this space, I went to check Femi's space and I can see that his studio is registered here in Nigeria and in the US. Perhaps just probably just walk us through how that is possible and what this registration itself entails, and if it is possible for you to share the cost implication and so to say, perhaps a contact of someone that could be of help in the future as regards this. That's my question. Thank you so much.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about mine from my own experience. I think initially when I wanted to set this up, it was important that I registered in Nigeria because I was going to be sort of operating out of Nigeria. So I spoke with a friend of mine who is a lawyer and he does business registrations. So the first thing I did was to register as a business. Um, I can't remember the cost, but I think it was around maybe 120, 150K. So there's a cost of registering it with the um, authorities, and there's the cost the lawyer is going to charge you. So that's summing up together is around over 100K. So the first thing I did to register as a business name. So once registered as a business name, at least sort of you're already a legal entity. You are not yet a company. You're not yet a limited, but you are a legal entity in Nigeria and you are allowed to operate as a business. Now, currently, I'm in the process of registering it in Nigeria as a limited. So, again, with all these new tax laws and everything, the limited companies have a threshold of 50 million. You have to earn 50 million before you start paying taxes on stuff. So, it's advisable for you to go beyond the business name and register it as a limited. Again, that also costs it's money. You can send me a DM, I can share my lawyer with you and you guys can discuss. So registering it in the USA is completely optional, right? It's not compulsory, but it's a choice if you want to serve audiences in those countries, right? Because they will feel more comfortable if so just like in the way we were talking about presenting yourself or introducing yourself in certain contexts. So if you're working with a Nigerian client, you can easily say, "Oh, place of what's it called? Operation is in Lagos or in Ibadan, or in Akure, wherever." But if you are working with a US client, you can easily say your place of registration is in Wyoming or Delaware, right? And it just kind of like adds a little bit of credibility to you. If you open a US business, if you register in the US, you could open a US business account. So if you are trying to get payment from these clients, if you send them a Stripe link or a USD bank account, it could give you a lot of credibility. So it's more about the optics of it for if you want to serve international clients. When I registered mine in the US, I used Norbase, and I think it cost me about $550 plus charges, so probably like $580. Um, There was the $450 to register the business. Then there's this number you need to get, which is the EIN number. That number enables you to open a bank account as a non-US citizen. So if you want to open like a Stripe account or like a Wise business, they will ask you for that number. And that number, getting that number is after the registration. And it took about 2 months to get the number. So then you can, so the number costs $100, but you pay for everything together while trying to register. Then you have the charges which Stripe may charge you as you're trying to pay. So let me just ballpark it at $580 to register the business with Norbis. I think registering it itself took about maybe 2 to 3 weeks for me. So that's kind of like the cost. So if you are looking to register in Nigeria and say in the US, you probably will need around say 200 to 300K in terms of the legal fees, paying the lawyer and the administrative fees, paying the CAC and stuff like that. And for the US, you probably need 550 to $600 to be able to do that. Yeah, I hope I answered your questions.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, you're
Thank you.
welcome. I think someone else requested earlier, but in the case of so we are about rounding off. So if you guys have questions, you can start putting them in the chats or um start putting up your hands so we can gather your questions or ask you get the chance to ask your questions before we round it off. Um so I think yeah, we've spoken about collaboration and team building in the midst of all of your answers. So we are just going to skip those questions. Um, yeah. Okay. So if there's any word of advice you are going to give anybody looking to start this journey, what is one thing you would tell them to focus on or to learn or to be self-aware of? Femi, you can go first.
There's a lot, there's a lot actually. Um, but like most of the things we've mentioned, I think one of the first things is to have a direction, right? Have some sort of vision of what you want to get to, right? So once there's a destination, then there can be a plan, right? So once you have an idea of where you want to go, then you can start working towards the place, right? So you need to first of all focus on direction, try to decide on what you want to do, who you want to be, how you want to be perceived, and all of those things. Then, like Adam mentioned, data is very important, right? You need to do a lot of research. You will continue to do a lot of research, even, right? So you need to focus on being on trend, getting familiar with the industry, just being in sync with the developments that are happening in line with what you want to do, right? So once there's a place, all of those steps start coming together. But the first and most important thing that I think anybody that would want to do anything should focus on is having a destination, right? Have an idea of what you want to build. And then you can start asking questions, doing research, trying to get information, and taking steps towards it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Femi. How about you, Carl?
I think for me it will start with introspection. Starting with looking within yourself. You know that avatar. Who has watched Legend of Aang here? When Uncle Iroh says, "Look within yourself to find yourself. Only then with your true self reveal itself."
Yeah.
Just hear that and I was like, Oshe bars until I started to actually apply. And I said, okay, let me look within myself. And that's when my personal branding got even stronger than what I imagined personal branding to be. So introspection will always be the first thing for me. Understanding like what does it take to actually run a studio. And please don't let it be a fantasy. Be realistic about anything that you come up with. When I said to start a studio, that's when I realized that I have control issues. Like I literally want to control how the line is straight, which color you put, how you do. I want to control how everything works. I also found that I want to control the output, like the quality of output, and I also want to have a hand in it, so that when it come out, I'll be like, oh yeah, I follow for who design am. But it's not an I thing. I've always operated as an I, so it was difficult for me to transition into a we. Shey you get? So introspection is very, very important. Check whether you have leadership skills, whether you have communication skills, whether you have collaborative skills, whether you have people management skills, client management skills, money management skills, right? Because I've seen over time in the corporate world where founders would take money from the company, go and oble around the world, buy expensive cars, relocate all their family members, and then owe salary for 6 months. It doesn't make any sense, right? So understanding how money works and how to manage the money that you have on you is also like a very big part of introspection, and even starts with your personal finances. If you can't manage your personal finances, bro, just forget it. You can't manage a company. I'm sorry to tell you. Except if you want to outsource it to someone else to do it for you. That's like one of the big parts of what I would advise anybody that wants to go into creating a design studio to do. I think another thing that I would advise is build strategic relationships. I don't think you should start when you want to build a studio. I think you should start even way before then. There's some people that feel icky, they feel bad about having friends just because of what you can benefit from them. I'm not saying anybody that deal. I will even tell you to your face that I'm friends with you because you they do this. No, do you get? And that's because when you're clear about your relationship, it's easier for you to know, like, there's no fluff in your conversation. It's straight to the point now, right? There are some people that I'm friends with that tell me, Adeze, I actually need you to brand XYZ. I don't have, your kind of money. And I'm like, no, well, I will brand it for you. And you that you do marketing, you come up with marketing strategies for me. Capiche, capiche, shake my hand, twe. Shake it. And, we are in agreement that this is what we are doing. We still talk about other things and we are friends, but we know that this relationship is a symbiotic relationship. It's an intentional symbiotic relationship. So I'm not advising you to go my route. I'm just saying generally build strategic relationships that will end up benefiting you and your company in the long run. Do you get? So and then the last thing that I think I would say in terms of what you should know is train your mind to always evolve. Train your mind to always evolve. Don't be the kind of person that is comfortable. There's some people that I know that they will not start until they push them. They be like all those cars that we used to have in bus stop that year. That if Yusuf have not pushed it from the back, it will not start. Don't be like those kind of cars. Be a self-starter. Be the kind of person that will look at what you have created, or look at what you've done, or even look at the people you work with or for, or that work for you. And you will say, how can I improve this person? How can I transition this person or this project or this thing from the level it currently is to the next level? With this viewpoint of mine, I yield the mic to Femi Gray because he cannot be raising his hand for a long time. I cannot allow that. Sorry. Femi,
Yeah,
talk now.
yeah, Femi.
I don't hear the mic.
Hey, thank you very much. Right, so I just wanted to add to what Ada said. One of the things that I think is very, very important that a lot of people overlook, even as freelancers, is systems, structure, processes, right? Before you even consider becoming a studio, these are things you need to be conscious of, right? You cannot be branding other people or businesses, and your own is anyhow. You get, You cannot say you are trying to help businesses make impact and then your own, the experience of working with you is just anyhow, right? So you need to become very conscious of your systems, start putting structure in place, even as one person, right? Put structure in place. If you have to design your invoice, design it. If you have to use a platform that makes it work, use it, automate what you need to automate, you know, just make things easy, right? Make it a delightful experience, right? You don't need to become big before you need to start considering all of these things. They are what we call the little things that matter, right? They actually do matter. You need to start putting systems and structure in place for yourself. And then, when you consider becoming a studio, you can then start thinking about how to make it scalable, how to add more people to what you've built, how to enlarge the platform to accommodate more people so they can work with you, that kind of, excuse me, that kind of thing. Right. So that is what I wanted to add.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. And to add to them, Carf talked about money management, and it's super important. I think Nii also touched on that yesterday, and he said you should scale at your own pace. So the fact that you've earned some big bucks doesn't mean you should start going on a hiring spree or go to get a space if you know your team doesn't need it yet or you don't need it yet. So it's super important that your business is profitable, right? Because that's one reason why you can stand the test of time, because there'll be abundance period where you're just getting projects way more than you can even take on at that time, and there will be times of drought where things are going to go slower, maybe because businesses are trying to not spend money at that time, or clients are not finding you in the places they want to find you, and you need good money management to be able to weather all those period. And when you are looking to make this transition, I think the biggest thing you can do is just start having your client base. Before you start thinking of your website, your logo, and all your positioning statement and everything. All these things are beautiful to have, but you need that proof that people want what you are trying to sell. So it's very important that you start building your client base, and like the speakers have said, you start building those relationships from today. Build a relationship with the clients, with your collaborators, with other freelancers, so that when you do need them, it's easy to broker that conversation in the first place, right? So super, super important that you get these things in place before you make that transition. Test the waters before you jump in, or else, you might find a shark down there. Yeah. So guys, I'm going to wait a few minutes to see if anyone has any question so that we can answer your questions before we call it a night. Or should I call people's names? Let me put some of my G's on the spot here. Praise Salmis, do you have any question for me? 47, Japheth, do you have any question for me? Or do you have any question for Femi or Ada? Don't be shy. Okay, they don't have any questions. So thank you guys for joining this space, and thank you for joining the first day. The second day, it's been wonderful going on this journey with you guys. It's been wonderful talking about my journey and the speakers' journeys with you guys. Like I said early on, the Glyn Spaces will be happening every second Friday and fourth Friday of each month. And we'll be having conversations with some of the design leaders, team leaders in businesses, people who talk about the business of design, just to help you guys get a bigger sense of how to position yourself, the value you can bring to the businesses you work with, the value you can bring to clients, and things like that, right? So um follow Glyn, tune in every second Friday and fourth Friday, and we'll have wonderful conversations. And if you found these conversations insightful, please um tweet at us, tweet at Glyn, tweet at me, Paul Kelly, and just tell me the things you found insightful, the things you've loved in the space and the live streams. Tweet at the speakers, and maybe things you found profound in what they've said, and just keep it engaging. Thank you very much. 47 has a question now, my guy. Ah, it's not connecting. No. Okay, 47. Yeah, you can ask your question.
Hello, everyone. So, question two. Sorry, Calvin Gray. So, how did you get your first five clients?
Two.
To the speakers, any of them?
Oh, okay, okay. Anyone wants to take them?
So on our end, the based on data, what has worked mostly for us is referral and return clients, right? So people that we've worked with previously that then come back and say, okay, we need to do another project, right? But if you're speaking about the things that you've done to then get clients, is that what you mean?
No, 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 no. Your first clients. That's what I'm asking.
Okay, I mean, that is how it has worked for us, referral and repeat clients. That's it.
All right. Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah.
Cal, any?
Me, I used to go and kidnap client though. Straight from there. Your money or your life, choose one. But yeah, I think largely the same model with Femi, because statistically you are is it's easier to actually retain clients than for you to go and start looking for new ones, right?
Yeah,
But
true.
if I am looking for clients, I try to capitalize on my community, which is still referral in a way, but this time around is just basically whispering into people's ears, and creating problems. I won't well, creating problems sounds negative, but it's more like shedding light on problems that exist in some people's world, and solving those problems, and in turn they typically refer. So an example is I was working with somebody, a personal brand, and I was building a brand universe for her, and using AI and some other tools, I was able to create a lot of assets that she could use. So as I was creating it for her, I created it for her free of charge, by the way, because I was like, "Oh, you have this problem, bring it, let me solve it for you." And she was like, "Oh, let me pay." And I was like, "Over my dead body, am I gonna touch your money?" Right? Because I in a way, wait, first let me check whether she did. Ah, this is recorded. Jesus. Okay. Um, I was about to say something crazy, but yeah, I created this stuff for her, and she was very, very appreciative. She was so appreciative that she showed it to her friends and other people. And those her friends also reached out, like, "Guy, I saw what you did for her. I want the same thing. Now I can start charging." Because I don't know you like I know her, so maybe you can bring money, right? So I do the same thing for them, and then they will go and be excited about it and share with other people too, and those things also bring. So I kind of point out problems and provide solutions for them, and hope, this in this case not a very strategic move, but hope that they would spread the word and maybe be my magnet. And so far so good. i've had a I've had a 60% success rate when it comes to using this sort of thing. So yeah, there was a time in my life I said, "Don't work for free, don't design for free." I mean, they design for free now, strategically designing for free.
You work for free, oh.
See, Abi you will not work for free. Let one government official somewhere come and tell you that, I need invitation card for my wedding. See, or even your banner, your clothes, everything I'll design for free. No worry, because I know what I want to use that relationship for. So That's my strategy basically, apart from referral and the other things that Femi has mentioned. So yeah, I don't run ads. I'm sorry. I've never run an ad before in my life. Or maybe I might
Do
do
you do
something.
cold emails?
I don't do that. I don't do cold emails. I don't do cold DMs. I don't do anything cold. Do you get? And it's not because
Bona Feli Feli.
You can see the fire in our background.
I'm
That would be off brand.
I'm telling you.
so I don't do anything cold, and I think it comes from a place of embarrassment, right? I'm scared of embarrassing myself in people's DMs, and that's stupid. Do you get? But also, I'm not wanting for clients to the point where I'm in people's DMs sending cold messages. Do you get? And that's because I've tried to look for what worked for me. For some people, cold emails and cold DMs work, but for me, it has never worked. I even used to try different ways. The one that is funny, the one that is serious, the one that is yeah. I tried different things. So you guys, what has worked for me is relationships. Relationships has done wonders for me. Wonders. There's as in when I count how many, if I have 100 clients, about 90% of them have come from relationships. It's not boy and girl, oh, like strategic relationships, strategic partnerships, friends that I'm people that I'm friends with that refer me and be like, oh, this girl, she's really good at what she does, right? And that's because I'm always doing Tojubole on their own brand too. Even someone that does not have a personal brand, I'll go and force them to have a personal brand. Not force. Force is a very strong word. I would advise them and convince them to have a strong personal brand, to have branding, to change maybe their DP and whatever. And especially people that are very social. So once I do all of those things for them that are very public, right? Emphasis on stuff that are public. So when I do these things for them, their circle are most likely to say, hey, who did this thing for you? Ah, like so don't find girl in my backyard. Oh. Give me a number. Now so
Yeah.
and just to give you like something that's happened very recently. There's one design that my sister-in-law shared with me, once again relationship, months back, and she was like, this design, she doesn't like the way it came out. It's their in-house designer that did it. Their boss doesn't really like it, but he doesn't know how to say it to the designer because already exhausted. So I was like, okay, bring it, let me do. She was like, how much? I was like, nah, don't worry yourself, I'll do it for you. So I did it, and she said it to her boss. I was like, this is what my sister-in-law created, you like it? And I was like, oh my god, this is actually really cool. Tell her to make these changes, and da. And it went out. That this thing I'm talking about happened, I think it was 2 years ago, maybe like the end of 2023 was when it happened. Then randomly, this guy just say, hey, give me that your sister-in-law's number, beg. I need her to do some work for me. And he reached out, and I was like, can you get on a call? Who am I? Are you all right? Okay, not are you all right, but like, what do you mean I can't get on a call like right now? Please, even if I'm on the sick bed, let's go. So because I know that this guy is loaded, guy. So so we got on a call. This thing is recorded. Ah, Jesus. So we got on the call and we're speaking to, and it was like he needs this done and he needs that done. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cute, that's nice. But I feel like this is a stronger solution to this problem. I upselled, upsold, upsailed. What's the up of that sale? Man, help me with English
Oh,
now.
Offsold is offsold. You're right.
Femi, great, thank you. Upsold, I upsold the problem for him. Like this solution that you've come up with is a temporary one. I can give you a more permanent solution. It was like, how much would that cost? Milli. I sent it to him, and I was like, oh, okay, no problem. Let's remove this small amount of money. This is what I can afford. And I was like, no problem, because it was actually like 4 times less than that. I initially wanted to charge. So, what am I saying? Please, can you take this conversation away from me? I shall got paid. That's the end of that story.
I
Jesus.
have a last question, Kelly. Sorry. So
Yeah.
my question is, what do you wish you knew before you started? What are the things we should look out for? New agencies for us to look out for. What do you wish someone had told you before you started?
That I'll be that agency work. Typically they would say, um, if you make your job your one thing, there's a way to say that they used to make it romantic. right? But one thing that I've discovered is you work literally 27 hours a day, because somehow you actually find a way to squeeze in 3 hours that was not there before. She get, especially with someone that does a 9 to 5. So I will do my 9 to 5, and I will still have to find time to attend to clients' work, and I still have to meet deadline, and I still have to do it in a way that excellence is not compromised, like quality is not compromised. She get. So one thing that I wish that I have been told right from time is that I should have just stayed in my 9 to 5. I don't regret it, to be honest, because I love challenges. Not the one in Ibadan, by the way. But that was a stupid joke. I'm so sorry.
That is a
But
joke I will make.
that was such a dry joke. But yeah, that's what I wish someone had told me. I wish someone has also told me that there was a lot of learning to do. There's a lot of things that you realize about yourself. If they ask you, are you a good person? You say yes. Are you an upright person? Are you a this person? Are you a that person? You would say yes. And then you get to a certain situation and you realize that there's a lot that you need to learn and that you need to change about how you think, about how you speak, about how you command the room, about how you present yourself, about how you navigate relationships, about how there's a lot of things that need to change. And you are constantly evolving, and you have to evolve fast. Like there's literally no time for you to sit down and say, oh, I need to calm down and learn this thing. You don't have that luxury of time to sit down and say, I want to parabale and learn this thing. I have, me personally now, within the next 2 to 3 weeks, I need to learn leadership. Like I've done leadership course before, but there are some things that I've noticed again that I feel like, okay, I need to take another different leadership course to take care of that part. I can get to next month now and I'm taking another course on something that has nothing to do with design, but it's important to how I want to build what I want to build. I don't want to ever have a situation where people come online and say this person is a horrible founder, or she dey owe me money, or she treated me poorly or abused me or something. I don't ever want to be in the midst of those scandals. So what I wish someone told me was how, like, all of these soft skills, or I don't know that to call them soft skills because they're not soft at all. They are agbero skills, right? I needed to have learnt them in a way before now, because I don't even have the luxury of time to spend learning them right now. I just have to learn quick and move quick. So with this viewpoint of mine,
Yeah.
Yeah, solid, solid, solid. I agree with you, especially on the soft skills. Sorry, my last question, my last question. So, how do you handle slow seasons, dry spells when there's no gigs coming in? How do you stay motivated during those periods?
I love that question. Tori, that's why I am in 9 to 5. So at least if I not see side us do right in the month, I will see salary. So that has been help. People that actually leave 9 to 5 and just face in studio work, I genuinely wonder how they do it. Do you get? And I know that I'll probably get to that point one day. That's on one side. My 9 to 5 does a very good job of giving me like financial security or job security to a level, right? That's on one end. Second, on the other end, there's the kind of jobs that I typically go for, or that I encourage people to give me, or that I find a way to collect, are jobs that are retainer based. So jobs that I know that after I don't do this work for you, you will come back for something monthly. So, an example is someone that I did branding for, right? I did branding for them, did a cover, whatever. I did like branding generally for them, based on the package that they had picked. Because I work with design packages as well. So, um, I did the branding, and then they went out. They were excited. They even posted on Twitter about it. Oh, this lady, yada yada, right? And that was the end of that project. Then the person came back and I was like, I've seen the design that you do, and the people that I have are actually spoiling the design. Like they are not using it the right way. Can you come in as an in-house consultant or in-house designer and manage this thing? So we negotiated the amount, yada yada, and now I'm on retainer for them as a consultant, right? As a consultant stroke designer, by the way. And I have a couple of those kind of things going on. Shey you get. So I typically shoot for retainers, monthly retainers over one-time projects. Although I still hunt for one-time projects because those ones actually bring in more money. But retainers are kind of a way of having something coming monthly that is not my salary. Sure, you feel me? So that's how I go about it.
Yeah, and that's solid. For everyone, you need to have a retainership model, because you can predict the income that is going to come in for that month, based on the retainership, and then whatever your one-off projects or longer-term projects brings is an addition um to whatever you earn on the retainership. But it's super important to it makes you sustainable at least until you can maybe charge bigger bucks for your one-time projects. But you also have to protect yourself from the retainership so you don't end up being a slave to the retainership model. So that you have to find a balance in how your model works. Yeah. So 47, if you have any other question, I'm going to ban you. Um is there any other person who has a question before we call it a night? 47, your mic is going off and on. Do you have another question?
I don't have any other questions.
All right, my G. Thanks for hopping on the Thanks for being on the space. Thank you, everyone who stayed up to this point and listening. I hope you guys have been able to learn something that can help you on your journey. And if you are not there yet, take your time. There's no there's no reason to rush into this. There's no reason to try to do this. Keep improving, keep learning, keep upskilling, keep thinking about it so that by the time you come to that conclusion that this is the right next step for me, you are prepared. Because again, it's a big shift. It may look small on the surface, but it's a big shift in the way you present yourself, the way you talk about your work, the places you want to show up in, the kind of conversations you want to be having, the places you associate yourself with. It's kind of like that. So but it's completely doable. So one of the points of this space is to let you know that it is doable. you know it's not alien, it's not for a select few. You can do it, right? It's just you need to be prepared for the journey, and no matter how prepared you are, you will still meet things that you will not be prepared for. But you always have to have that mindset that this is just another ordeal that you need to scale past. This is normal, this is going to happen, and you just find ways, talk to people. One of the things I did was I spoke to a lot of people. I spoke to Sheyi, I spoke with Tunji Ogunoye, I spoke to with Creative Booms founder, I spoke to Femi, Funsho Felix. I spoke to a lot of people who have either done this or they've also started the journey. How are they going about it? I wanted to learn from their experience. So if you have any questions you want to ask me, feel free to ask me in the DMs. I'm sure Femi and Cav will also be willing to answer your questions when they can. So feel free to send a DM. Feel free to reach out to people who have more experience with about certain things you don't know. If it could be leadership and you talk to somebody you think is a great leader and you go meet them, you'll be surprised how many people are willing to help, which is something that I was surprised by in the terms of, because some of the people I spoke to was my first time speaking to them. But I just reached out to them that, hey, I'm thinking of making this step. Please, I would love 30 minutes of your time to discuss certain things with you. And some of those calls end up being 1 hour, 45 minutes, even more than the 30 minutes I was asking for. But they were just dropping me gems, and it was super insightful in learning from their experience. So, you don't have to do it alone. You leverage the power of the community, and I'm wishing you guys all the best. This space will always be on the Glynn channel, and probably I will download it to add to the first ones where the weapons wanted to fashion. But I'll also put it up on YouTube so that you can always have a resource to go back, listen to the things that have been discussed, and learn more things again with a different perspective. So yeah, thank you guys for coming. And at this point, I'm going to end the space. Thank you, Femi Gray. Thank you, Carl, for giving me, this time, the opportunity to learn from your journeys. I appreciate you guys a lot. And, God bless all of us on this journey. And we all gonna make it. So So yeah, thank you very
That's
much.
very certain.
By God's grace. So yeah, see you guys on the streets of X.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.